welcome to the House of ZK Radio, which is a focused podcast and media channel exploring everything ZK, zero knowledge. I'm Alice, host of House of ZK Radio, joined here with Pavel, who is a co-host from House of ZK as well, and then our guest Rute, who is a Devrel engineer at ZK Email. Thank you so much, Rute, for joining. I was really excited to have this episode ever since ZK Email came to one of House of ZK's events in San Francisco, and was just really excited about seeing all of the applications being built out. So really excited to have you on here today.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here as well to talk about ZK Email.
Yeah, sounds good. And I'm wondering, before we go into all of that, could you give a brief introduction of yourself and your journey into Web3 and ZK? And I know that you, before joining ZK Email, you had a more traditional Web2 software engineering background, and then transitioned more into Web3 and then into ZK. So wanted to hear more about that journey.
Yeah, sure. I'm Rute, and actually before I started my journey into tech, I was actually working at the military Air Force by fixing airplanes. Cool fact. After that, I started my journey into tech. I just did Web to traditional software engineering. Mostly, I was working as a consultant, so I was working as a full stack developer into some consultancy companies. We were working with some different projects that were really interesting. But then I still felt that I was missing to do more impact to our society. So because of that, I started to dig into blockchain, and I got really interested. I started to do some hackathons while I was still working into Web2. And then I was also facing ZK, and because it's all about much more about privacy. And since I was in the military before, I was super curious about security and privacy. So I started to dig more into this. I started to work on a project in the Ethereum Foundation. And then I joined ZK Email as a Devrel engineer.
Yeah, nice. Quite a journey. I didn't know that you were part of the Air Force, military Air Force before, so that's really cool, and how focusing on security there led to your interest in privacy and security, and eventually your work into ZK. So I really think that transition is pretty cool, and the progression from different points. So that was really great to hear. So before we go into some more details about what ZK Email is building, I wanted to hear about the motivation that the team had in building this kind of alternative solution for email authentication. I think a lot of members in the audience use Gmail, Outlook, a lot of those popular email providers, but was curious to hear about some of the limitations or caveats of those and why the team chose to build ZK Email.
Yeah, so ZK Email is not exactly like a way to authenticate into an email. So you actually use the already infrastructure that is built already for email. And because this is so intuitive and it already has some cryptographic means to verify that the email is authentic, you can build really interesting stuff from here. And the only caveat from this is that if you want to prove that you have some important email without zero knowledge, you can't actually prove without reveal the whole email content. So yeah, with ZK, you can do this selective disclosure and actually prove that you get some relevant information on some email, but you don't need to exactly show the whole email.
Got it. And so basically, ZK enables for that selective disclosure so people can choose what types of content they want to be revealed and what they want to keep private.
Yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
I think the most intuitive example for this to understand this point is that imagine that you got some like really important email, like I don't know, from some government or like with some information that you want to expose, but because it's sensitive information, you don't want to reveal yourself. If you don't get this, if you don't have this selective disclosure provided by zero knowledge proofs, you need to reveal the whole email to prove this information. But with this selective disclosure, you can actually show to everyone this information and prove that you have this without exactly exposing like all of the details from this email, like for example, your identity.
Got it. And when you say that you can currently kind of verify the authenticity of emails, I'm wondering if you can elaborate a bit more on that. So I'm assuming it isn't directly related to the email content, like, for example, phishing or spamming tendencies, or even like detecting if malicious actors are trying to send emails that contain, say, like a link that automatically downloads malware onto your computer. So I'm wondering if you can speak a little bit about like the differentiation between the verifying the authenticity of those emails versus, say, like verifying that the content is, say, like safe to use and isn't malicious.
Yeah, so like the authenticity you can prove from like the DKIM signatures. So what happens is that whenever you send an email to somebody else, where you write the content of that email, and then when you send it, your email provider will create a signature with this private key, and it will hash all of the content from this email, and it will send to the person you are sending the email. And then when the person receives, the email provider will also check the integrity of this email. So if the email was not changed in the way from the way that was sent, and if the person that sent is the one that is actually saying that sent the email.
Got it. So the authenticity part is that during that emailing process, the email itself wasn't really changed from how it was sent, and at the same time, you can verify that it was like actually the person who sent you the email.
Yeah, so this
Got it.
doesn't protect us from phishing or spamming because in those cases, it's just simply that you have some malicious content on the email. But because the email was still sent by the one that said the one that sent the email, it will still be verified.
Yeah, so I'm wondering, because you mentioned about DKIM before, I'm curious to hear about what led the ZK email team to use this protocol specifically. For example, some of its advantages, I'm assuming one is because of compatibility, since a lot of other email authentication systems also use this protocol. But curious to hear from your team's side, what really led the team to adopt this. particular protocol and any kinds of limitations or trade-offs that you may have encountered while using it.
Yeah, so the other advantage is that you don't need to have any intermediary to verify this information. And because of that, you can actually have a use case where you can bring more Web2 data into Web3 without the need of any notary or any oracle. And also, I wanted to say something else. Uh, yeah. So I wanted to also mention one of the caveats for this is that so DKIM signatures were already in place for some time ago, but the main issue with this was that the public keys for each sender domain is stored in a text DNS record, and each time they rotate the 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 key pairs, they actually replace this record with the new one. So this was like a caveat for verifying like old emails. So we also started to do like this public DKIM archive, which everyone can check and everyone can contribute with some like we just parse like different headers for the emails, and because we have like also a script to calculate the GCD between two different emails from different emails, we can actually uh, um, recover the old public keys that are already gone from those records.
Got it. So some of the main advantages comes with the compatibility and the like no need for an intermediary, and some of the caveats are related to the rotation of these key pairs and having to replace each record with a new one. And I'm also assuming that that has like an impact on the proof side as well. So when these DKIM keys are rotated for those existing proofs, is there like a chance that those existing proofs could be made invalid since there would be like a new key pair that's generated? Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
wondering if that's also. Mhm.
yes, sir. Yeah, if you didn't have any way to store those old public keys, yes, these proofs would be invalidated. But since we now have a way to store these old public keys, we can actually prove much older emails without any concern for that.
Got it. And you also have that public DKIM archive as well for that's like visible for everyone to check and contribute as well.
Yeah, that's on
Got it.
archive.ck.email, by the way.
Yeah, sounds good. Nice. Everyone who's interested should check that out. And I wanted to also go back to a bit about the selective disclosure topic that we were talking about, which is, I think, like a very big value proposition that CK Email offers. So, how can users select which information they want to be kept public or private? Are there any like particular email property parts that are typically kept private, or say other like parts that are typically kept public that are proven? How does like providing users with this choice impact how selective disclosure is enabled for ZK email?
Yeah, so this selective disclosure is completely customizable. And so the user can actually use it any way they want. And what we provide for this is we have like this ZK regex tool, and this just like this enables you to parse any type of text um, into zero knowledge. So this is exactly what allows you to do like selective disclosure. And on top of this, we have this registry that we built. And this also allows people that don't have any zero knowledge. So they don't have any knowledge on how to build circuits, how to implement circuits, how to implement ZK, and all of that stuff. And so they can actually go to our registry and create like a blueprint. And what a blueprint is just, you just define from an email, you just define what you want to reveal and what you want to keep private from that email. And when defining this in like just in a user interface, then we just build the whole circuit for you, and you can actually use the same blueprint in the same place in the same UI, or you can also include it into your application using our SDK, and you can start to prove a lot of stuff with similar emails.
Got it. It sounds like the team is making a lot of efforts towards the developer experience side with the ZK regex. You mentioned that you could parse any kind of text and ZKify it. And then there's also that registry to create the blueprint. And yeah, from my understanding, it enables a lot of customization, so users can define like what is revealed and also what is kept private.
What are some examples of blueprints where you would specify the specific data to be extracted? Do you have any like overall like examples that people are, or the more popular ones that people are using?
Yeah, so I can also mention some of the ones that we also built for the one of the use cases that we had recently, which was like for airdrop. So we were just building like simple blueprints that allow you to verify that you have like you did a QIC with some exchange, or you have a valid account with Uber, or you have a valid account with Amazon. You can also do something like, oh, I did like X amount of orders in Amazon, or I did like X Uber trips. And even from there, you can also just reveal whatever you want, like, oh, I took an Uber drive that got more than 30 minutes, or yeah, you can just build whatever your imagination says to you.
Yeah, it's great that you offer that kind of flexibility to users. Mhm. And I'm just curious on the user experience side. Uh, how is the user experience impacted when verifying these DKIM signatures with ZK? And also, to my understanding, verification is all completed on chain. I'm curious to hear, like, compared to some other applications that may not have to have that additional step for verifying the DKIM signature. Is there any kind of like potential overhead that users may come across when completing this additional step, or has the ZK email team figured out a way to optimize it so that it's not really impacted too much on the end user?
Yeah, so we are using 16 proofs like growth 16. So because of this, the proof can be verified really quickly on chain. So there is no really overhead on that side. Other than that, we also have ways to verify the proof off chain. So even if you have some application and you don't exactly need to verify this proof on chain, you can still verify it on off chain.
Got it. So the proofs are kind of wrapped into the Groth16 format, which makes it like a lot more succinct for the verification aspect. And at the same time, you also offer some off-chain options as well.
Yeah.
Got it. And are there any other like optimization techniques that the team was considering for any kind of like computationally intensive operations when verifying these signatures and hashing as well? I know quite a few teams are looking at, for example, proof aggregation, or just like recursively combining these proofs. Are there any kinds of specific design considerations that the ZK email team is thinking about for optimization?
Yeah, so on the proof side, we are actually working into getting client-side proving much more efficient because we really concerned about user privacy. So we are mostly working on that side. We are also, so we started to use only Circom for proof generation. But right now we are also using, we are starting to integrate Noir and also SP1 for server side.
Got it. So users can still keep part of their like inputs private while still using server side proof generation. So they don't just have to use client side proof generation to preserve like the privacy aspect. They can also deploy their proofs to say like a proof market or some kind of external proving service.
Yeah, so on server side, the only downside is that we still have to parse the email on our servers, which are then deleted afterwards. That's also one of the reasons we are more focused on improving client-side proving.
Got it. And going into, Pavel, did you want to ask something as well?
Yeah. I was wondering if there was like if you know how long it takes to generate a I guess a ZK proof of an email in terms on that client side currently.
Yeah, it will depend on the circuit itself. But I would say more or less like, and it will also depend on your machine. I would say less than 5 minutes, but probably a bit more than 2 minutes, I guess. Which will be improved with the addition of Noir, and will also be improved because we just released the new ZK regex compiler even for Circom, which we actually shared some of the architecture changes, and this will also optimize a lot our circuits.
Cool.
Got
Thank
it.
you.
So
Thank you for specifying.
it really depends on like the end circuit size, but there are some different ways that the team is looking at to kind of like optimize the size of those circuits, which may lead to faster proving times. Got it. And then I also wanted to talk a bit more about some of the like use cases that ZK offers as well. So I know that you guys have a product called the email wallet. So I was curious to hear about the motivation behind developing this system where users can make transactions just by sending emails, which sounds pretty cool. How do kind of like the trust and also like security assumptions, as well as the user experience for compared to using some kind of traditional wallet to make a transaction, like a MetaMask, for example?
Yeah, so the big downside with traditional wallets is mostly because so you have these long seed phrases, you just have like these hexadecimals, addresses that are not really intuitive. And because emails are used like every day, and we are already used to those. And it's much easier also to remember an email than a wallet address. So this is the main idea with email wallet, is that you can improve a lot Web3 user experience by just having a wallet where you just prove that you want that email. So you just and with that you just have this wallet that is attached to your email, and then from there you can also just write commands in your email and just send transactions and send operations on chain.
Yeah, got it. And what types of like transactions do you see, like if there's any kind of users that are currently using the email wallet, what kinds of transactions have you seen them using, or any that are currently compatible? Like, for example, an asset transfer or a swap, or like anything in that regard?
Yeah, you can do like almost anything you want, and even some developers that are building on top of email wallets can actually customize the templates for these operations. So it's completely customizable. You can do anything with that.
Got it. So they're not really limited to just kind of the provided functionalities. Developers can also um, build their own that they want
Yeah.
to like integrate into the application. Got it. And also, I know that in addition to the email wallet, the ZK email team also has an account recovery application as well. So I'm curious to hear how the team leverages these generated proofs for secure account recovery, and like what the role of ZK is for the recovering process.
Yeah, so because you can prove that you want some email, you can actually be more confident when you're just setting up like a recovery process using your email. Yeah, you can also assign some other people into your recovery process. And yeah, because it uses ZK and it uses like these DKIM signatures, it's much more secure than some other means.
Got it. And in terms of just like general use cases that the ZK email team is building on, to my understanding, some of the main use cases that you're focusing on are related to identity proving, and then also with, like, for example, the ZK email application being able to send and receive assets, or doing swaps, or even, as you mentioned, like developers can program any kind of functionality that they want within the email wallet. But curious to hear if there's any kinds of like additional use cases that the team is also looking into, for example, with whistleblowing.
Yeah, so this is like one of the most interesting use cases that we think about. So we are also trying to expand more on this side for whistleblowing. Yeah, other than that, we are working more actively into this identity and proof of humanity side, alongside with some other partners. And yeah, this idea that you can also prove that you already did some QIC before, it's also quite compelling. And yeah, then you can also see the use cases around like providing some information without revealing everything. Like you can provide to some model, for example, that you are doing like Uber trips from a certain area, for example, and you don't exactly need to prove everything about these specific emails.
Got it. And on the topic of the KYC aspect as well, I think you also previously mentioned that the ZK email team is looking into like an integration with Jupyter as well. So wanted to hear some more details on how ZK email is improving the verification processes for these airdrops on Jupyter and also enabling the idea of a soft KYC.
Yeah, so this was mostly when Jupyter was launching their airdrops. And yeah, the idea was that they wanted to reduce the overhead for people to prove that they were not Civil wallet. And with this, they could prove that they had like one valid account. So they did one QIC process with some exchange, or they had like two valid accounts with some with two different Web2 providers. And yeah, with this they could detect much more efficiently these civil wallets, and even though they could also reduce the overhead for people doing this process. Yeah, on top of that, we are also partnering with Human Passport, and we are also integrating Stamp on their application. And yeah, it's also related to like soft QIC and this identity application side.
Yeah, nice. And it's great to hear that there's all these different kinds of integration plans in the future so that we can make this more like usable and also more accessible for different users out there. And that's great to hear. I'm also just curious about your general thoughts on developing ZK infra versus developing a ZK application. So ZK email is like one of the kind of like the main ZK applications that are out there, and there's tons of different projects who are focused more on the infrastructure side. Do you have any kinds of like predictions for, say, like the next wave of ZK applications? Do you think that there will be more applications that are being built out now that a lot of the infrastructure part is already being developed by a lot of teams? Do you have any predictions on if we're going to see a lot of different kind of applications being built out, or if you're like particularly excited about a specific type of ZK application? I'm just curious to hear just on that side with kind of like our current landscape where we are right now in the ZK space.
Yeah, so I believe we already have a lot of infra, as you mentioned. Yeah, that's true. And we should start to focus more on the application level. But I also believe that the hardest part on getting into the application level is mostly because if you say to a user, to a regular user that, oh, do you want to use this because you have more privacy? They actually don't care that much. So I think what we need to try to achieve is that we have to integrate this ZK infra into applications, but without the user to realize that. And I think this is the main issue because right now we still have some caveats on that, which are mostly due to the proof generation being too much expensive on computational resources. So, but if we improve these, which I think we are on the right track, I believe we will start to see much more applications around ZK, especially when AI is becoming like a main source of information.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of that, as you mentioned, like right now, there's some proof generation barriers that we need to get around first. But hopefully, when those are kind of addressed and we're able to lower proof generation costs to a point where it's usable in a lot of these applications, we can perhaps even see, like what you mentioned with AI, maybe even some applications in verifiable AI. And I think it's also a great point you mentioned that a lot of end users don't really care too much about privacy. And in order for ZK to really be used in the mainstream, it needs to be more of like a silent integration in that users don't even realize that they're using ZK and don't have to go through like any kinds of additional steps in order to use it. Because I'm just even thinking, like, for example, right now with two-factor authentication, I use two-factor for a lot of my like different accounts, and I just think it's so annoying that for them to like send me a code and then I have to input that code and then, input my password. And I just feel like that one extra simple step like is personally just really discouraging to me, even though it makes things more secure. So I think that, I also definitely agree that for ZK to really be used in a more mainstream way, that it needs to not have that kind of additional steps that users should take.
And to add to that point, like, or whenever you're doing, for example, KYC, that is very revealing, and then that takes also like extra steps from the provider front, from like the user front. So making that process much more simpler, more streamlined, definitely worth the extra 2 to 5 minutes to verify your identity using like an existing KYC that you've already done, or maybe like a government backed method as well. So So either making it under the hood or making things much easier or much faster than what you would have already have needed to gone through.
Yeah, and especially because some applications don't need so much data from your side, like by doing QIC. Okay, maybe some of them just need to understand that you already did some QIC process. So of course there will still be some applications that still need all of those steps. But we can improve a lot user experience on other applications with this. Yeah.
Yeah, got it. And just like that's the last question before we close, are there any kinds of announcements or any kinds of like upcoming developments that people in the audience can anticipate from the ZK email team? You mentioned that there's going to be some new integrations coming soon. I was wondering if there's anything else you'd like to share.
Yeah, so as I mentioned a bit briefly, we are integrating ZK email stamp into human passport, which we are really excited to achieve this. And on the other hand, we are working really actively, and we are really excited as well for our new compiler for ZK regex, and also our integration with Noir and SP1, which is coming to production soon. So yeah.
Nice. That sounds like great news for developers. And yeah, thank you so much, Rute, for for all the insights, and really enjoyed hearing how much the ZK email team really cares about the developer experience. Like you mentioned that for ZK regex, being able to parse any kind of text, and then you guys are even coming out with a new compiler as well. And then even on like the blueprint side, the upcoming compatibility with Noir and Succinct as well. And then also, in addition to helping users with this developer experience process, the amount of applications that you guys are thinking about in terms of KYC, in terms of identity proving, and the email wallet application as well. Yeah, I think that that's like a really important step that we should, like all ZK projects should take towards honing in on the developer experience, and then also honing in on the applications as well, and not just the engineering process. So really enjoyed hearing like how the team really handles all of those fronts.
Yeah, I forgot also some other important partnerships. So we also started to work on email as ENS, which will allow you to like pay to, like, for example, a GitHub handle or a Twitter handle. So we also think this is a really interesting use case. And yeah, and also we are partnering with Open Zeppelin and trying to standardize ZK email signers into blockchain.
Nice. And this will only further help with the user experience process.
Yeah.
And also almost bringing like a Web 2 experience to Web 3.
Sure.
Yeah, and thank you so much, Rute. Really appreciate all of the
Thank you.
insights from you. Thank you.